Thank you for joining us today. We are joined by JT Energy. Hello, man. How are you?
I'm great. How are you guys?
We are good, man. We are good. As good as we can be in this very strange world we're living in at the moment. It's a bit crazy, but we're doing our best. How are you with the pandemic? How are things for you at the moment?
I'm trying to be as normal as possible, like you said, in the world that we're living in. I actually just got out of COVID quarantine not too long ago. Just shortly after we had Christmas here, I caught it and immediately had to go into my 14-day lockdown to be okay, going back to work and going back to the gym and stuff. But I mean, luckily I didn't have any crazy severe symptoms. I never lost my smell, never lost my taste. Just like seemed like it was in and out of my system extremely quickly. And I thought to myself, I'd rather be, safe than sorry, not only for myself, but everyone that I surround myself with. And I went and got a test and got my results back, and I was positive, and I immediately just had to go into even more of a lockdown than the world that we're already in. So,
well, you did the responsible thing, mate, and I'm happy to hear that you're doing okay now. That's good.
Yeah, that's a lot of the problem as well. It's like, there's a lot of people not listening to the rules, but people forget, like yourself. A lot of people are asymptomatic; they've got no symptoms. That's the dangerous part about it. Is if no one's got any symptoms, you're passing it on without realizing. So I mean, it's horrible, man. It's lucky you did the test and you did what was right to do. You quarantined. It's it's crazy, man. I was saying I work at the hospital as well, and I was saying to somebody at work today, I still can't get used to the fact that I'm wearing a mask in public, and I went to the bank the other week, and it's just so bizarre. I'm walking into the bank wearing a mask.
I did that a few months ago. Before I went into the bank, I pulled up my mask, and it felt like I was about to do a heist. It's so weird.
It's so bizarre. It is. But anyway, dude, enough pandemic talk. Let's talk what we all love. We all love wrestling. Your journey, obviously, Black and Brave. We spoke to a few people from Black and Brave.
We've probably done more Black and Brave interviews than anything else. Everyone's got a Black and Brave story. We've spoken to Erick Brave himself. Such an interesting guy. But yeah, it's always a delight speaking with Black and Brave guys and girls because they've always got such positive experiences. So what was it like for you?
I have nothing but good things to say about Black and Brave, which is probably the story that you've kind of heard from everybody.
Yeah.
But that just goes to show you the expectations that kind of come out of that school. I also feel like a lot of us that sign up for Black and Brave and we get accepted to Black and Brave, I feel like you, from the moment that you walk in, you kind of want to hold yourself to a higher standard because of the people that you're getting trained by. You understand that you want to prove yourself to them to say, not only do I want to become a professional wrestler, but I also want to have my name come out of their mouth in a respectful manner. So anytime someone says, what great students are coming out of the Black and Brave Wrestling Academy, I hope that, someday, whether it's, Merrick or Seth, that they have good things to say about me and what my representation is in professional wrestling. So when it comes to learning good things in and out of the ring, I think they're making us better human beings by just giving us life advice, not only as professional wrestling advice.
Yeah, we obviously people talk to obviously Seth Rollins and Merrick, but what's the training like with those guys? I mean, is it two completely different styles of training with Merrick and Seth?
Not really. So it's kind of a 3-trainer system. One of the wrestlers locally, his name is Matt Mayday. He's one of our hands-on coaches. And he's right there all the time with Merrick. They're always there. And Seth is there as much as possible, which is at least 2 out of the 3 days a week that you're training. The only time he's ever gone in some way, shape, or form is when they used to have the European tours or something of that nature where he'd be gone for extended periods of time. Otherwise, he's always there too. And what I always kind of got from training in the classes I even watched after me is we're learning the ins and outs of professional wrestling, whether it be some of the more simple stuff or later in the training, some of the more intricate stuff. So people like Matt and Merrick, they have their eyes on you all the time. And you'll see Colby, he'll be sitting off to the side and he's always kind of watching. But because of the level that he's on, I always think that if you can get him to perk up and put in his 2 cents, it's because the things that he sees are above and beyond sometimes what Matt and Merrick see. So it's kind of neat because you have different levels of expertise in professional wrestling coming out of the training. So it's fun because every now and then when he chimes in, it's kind of like you're getting the man in the building with the most expertise to give you his 2 cents. But he doesn't want to give it all the time because it doesn't make sense when we have other trainers who can give you what you need. But he can chime in every now and then and be like, and if you tweak it a little this way or you do this, that's the nitty gritty stuff that he wants to make sure that we know.
Yeah, because let's face it, Seth Rollins, as everybody knows him as, he's one of the greatest in the world right now at what he does. I mean, he's not just a great in-ring talent. He's also got that TV experience. He knows the business. There's so much you can learn from him. Is there anything which you've learned from Seth or Merrick, which has been, like a piece of advice that you still take with you to this day, which really stands out?
I think the thing that I try to carry all the time is I try to carry the professional side of the business, and not in when I show up to a venue or a podcast or an interview, anything I do, I try to think to myself, okay, today and what I'm doing is a moment to enhance who I am, who JT Energy is. So if someone's tuning in, they're checking out this interview isn't just for fun. This interview is a part of my career. And this should be treated just like a show I might have in the middle of summer at a fair in front of 15 people. That match should be just as important as if I'm at a building in front of 500 people. So I always try to soak in and make sure that I'm realizing that every time I do something when it comes to professional wrestling, I've gotten to the point where everything does matter. And I shouldn't be coasting along, reaching out to people, asking for interviews if I'm not trying to have this grow my brand, have this grow the business. I'm trying to give back and do everything I can to kind of step up the ladder one by one and find my next step. And the more people I talk to, the more matches I wrestle, the more that I continue to find ways to be different. That's what I'm really trying to do. And that's what they've kind of instilled in us as professional wrestlers is it takes a long time to figure out who you are. And some people never really nail that down. But the more that you ask yourself the question of who am I as a professional wrestler? What's my point here? What am I trying to get across ultimately before I hang up my boots? And as JT Energy and reaching out to you guys, the fact that I'm sitting here today, 4:00 in the afternoon, Central Time in the United States, and I'm talking to you guys in the UK, I've never ever talked to anybody in the UK about professional wrestling as far as over the computer via Skype. I've had a couple people that I met a WrestleMania weekend, and that was really cool. But it's neat to see that the more that you try in professional wrestling, you realize the bigger and better the spectrum can be. And if you confide yourself in this very small world, you're never going to branch out to the big picture because professional wrestling is worldwide.
Yeah.
And the more that we open ourselves up to that, the more people will see you. And the more people that see you, they'll realize, oh man, I hope someday I get to watch that guy perform. And that's what I'm ultimately trying to do is just reach out to everybody I can, before my career's over and have the most fun with it.
It's such a good mentality to have, really, because pro wrestling seems like one of those industries where you only get out what you put in, and if you're not putting anything in, you're probably going to be disappointed, So with you're just reaching out to everybody, making your brand, and I think that's an important word you said. You are a brand. As an independent wrestler, you are your own business, and you've got to run it like a business. So as much as you're having fun doing it, you've also got to, like you said, do everything you can to get your name out there.
Yeah. And the fans, because of how much they connect with us when they get a chance to see professional wrestling, they know people that are genuine, whether it's good or bad or the portrayal or whatever. They can sense that and they can feel it. And it comes across on social media, in person, how you're selling your merchandise, how you're promoting things. People can really get invested in the people that they know are going to give back to them. And that's where you start to see fans reciprocate and want to give to you because they want to watch your career flourish the same way that you do.
Yeah, absolutely, man, absolutely. And just going back a bit as well, obviously before Black and Brave and your journey into wrestling, I was doing a little bit of research, and I read that you're a massive Randy Savage fan. You've been amazing. The amount of people we've spoken to who all say Randy Savage.
Randy Savage, yeah.
What was it about Randy Savage that drew you in?
So I think one of the coolest things that makes the Macho Man stand out is not only his in-ring work, but the way that he presented himself. So the Macho Man presented himself on such a grand spectrum, from the time that you saw him as the Macho King to the Macho Man Randy Savage to the madness. He was never afraid to reinvent himself and make sure that every time that you saw him, it was a different version of the Macho Man, which made him, extremely toyetic for when you started growing up and you got a chance to see a Macho Man action figure. That stood out so much more than maybe your basic Hulk Hogan figure, because the colors on the Macho Man made you instantly drawn to it. And the next time you saw a Macho Man action figure, it was also a different version of him. It wasn't the same thing that you saw last time. And you could always see in a Macho Man match in his selling that he was never afraid to make you feel like he was very down and out. He was a very good baby face when it came to finally making his comeback. And seeing him, and he was a very real wrestler too. People don't look like the Macho Man or Hulk Hogan anymore, where that you do have some thinning hair and receding hairlines, but he didn't care about that. He made it work for who he was. He believed in the Macho Man Randy Savage. And even into his later career in WCW, when he reinvented himself and he was kind of this new version of the Macho Man, coming out with this gang of girls, and he had the new theme music with the "What Up, Mach?" Like, it was crazy to think that guy was in the Spider-Man movie, but he made himself so relevant for so long that you fell in love with so many different versions of the Macho Man that he kind of encompassed his whole career in sucking you into his character and how crazy he was, because he always let his emotions overwhelm him, whether it was good or bad.
Have you taken any inspiration from the Macho Man and put them into JT energy, even the smallest of inspiration?
I would say so. I'm very, I try to be very smart about what I wear as far as my gear, and keeping things fresh with different colors, not trying to look like other people. My look, I think, is what I try to get people to notice me right away, which I feel like the Macho Man was very good at, because when he walks through the curtain and instantly throws his arms out and you're like, whoa, this guy instantly made himself bigger than he was to get you to follow him. And he was very animated with his voice and his hands. So when I'm doing stuff, whether it's talking in promos or wrestling in the ring, I try to make myself larger than life, because I wasn't blessed to be 6'3", 6'5", 250 pounds, shredded out of meat and muscle. I'm making the most out of what I can with what I've been given. So I would say I do take little bits and pieces of what the Macho Man was given and try to soak it into myself, because I don't have the best hairline in the world. So I feel the Randy Savage pain on that.
Yeah, I feel you there, man. I feel you there. My hairline's. I've been told by a few people it's receding.
There's a reason we're wearing hats.
Yeah. That's, we're both wearing the hats, but people tell me all the time. I don't believe it, but I'll wear the hat just in case. But another company I want to speak about is that it's a company we've not really had a chance to speak to with people before, and that's SCW. You've worked with those. What was that like working with those?
SCW is the home promotion for almost everyone that comes out of Black and Brave. It's the local community for professional wrestling. SCW has given me the chance to start to write my own story when it comes to professional wrestling. A couple years ago, I graduated from the 5th class out of Black and Brave. And so SCW and Black and Brave was just starting to figure out how they could use the students that were coming out of the school to help build the local promotion and what we were trying to do with professional wrestling. But I was lucky enough to be put into a group with Merrick Brave. Merrick Brave took myself and another one of the gentlemen that I graduated with, Jossie, and we became a little group called Stylin' and Defilin'. And me and Jossie, we were already vicious and delicious. And Merrick Brave had become the fashionista. So we were kind of like this ultimate trio of guys that walked around and just acted like we were better than you. Of course, any good group of heels would. So we were very lucky to learn under and be around Merrick Brave for a short bit. And he really trusted us to make decisions when it came to doing what was best for SCW and the fans. And believe me, we got our fair share of being yelled at for being out there, taking up too much time, not being as smart as we should be about professional wrestling. But SCW Pro they're the ones that started the journey to help me realize that professional wrestling would give back to me what I gave to it. So at SCW Pro, myself and Jossie, we had a chance to team up and face Billy Gunn in a tag team match. And for me, someone who calls himself the 6-star booty, to go up against someone who calls himself Mr. Ass, it was a match made in heaven. And we had a chance to have Vicky Guerrero come and be involved in one of our matches. Hacksaw Jim Duggan, we had a chance to work with. We've had so many blessed opportunities, and the fact that me being a couple years into professional wrestling and being able to share the same ring with legends that I grew up watching, SCW Pro has given me every chance to fall on my face or succeed. So anytime I have a match, I have a promo, I have a segment, I have anything, I'm just trying to show them that every single day when I show up, that I care to the utmost, because I know if I want to move to the next level, I have to show them that I'm willing to do anything here to not only, of course, I care about myself, but I want to grow this brand and all the local fans who believe in us.
And you've wrestled there for, I believe, the last, is it 5 years at SCW?
Yeah, SCW, they were the very first, they were like my debut. We had a 5-man battle royal. So after my class graduated, the month after we graduated, we had a 5-person battle royal. And I've been working consistently with SCW as much as possible since the day that I graduated.
Would you say that's like your home promotion then? That's like, if there's a promotion linked with JT Energy, that's the one?
Yep, SCW is definitely the place that I feel the most at home. There's a couple Iowa promotions that I also work alongside and have a really good multi-year relationship. but SCW is the one that I've never left their side, and they've given me opportunities to go and work other places, but I've never gone to them saying that I'm going to stop working for you because I'm going to start giving more to someone else. They have a great relationship with us. So if I ever needed to, I don't know, step away for like 6 months, sometimes that's not the worst thing in the world, because if someone gets used to you for 5 years straight, they don't realize how much they might miss you. If you never get injured or anything of that nature, you're just kind of the constant, cog in the wheel. But one of these days, if I have a chance where I do go away for a bit, it might be one of those things where when you get to see someone for the first time, you get that adrenaline rush because you're so excited to see someone back in SCW Pro Ring.
That's it. Absence makes the heart grow fonder. Like whenever a wrestler's away for 6 months to a year, they always get that huge return pop when they come back.
Yeah, that's one of the things that, you don't ever want to get injured, but those times where you see someone go through hardship and then they do have that story of the return and what they're going to do with the return, it always gets you it gets you more emotionally invested into that performer. So sometimes even if it's just some type of a storyline where someone's going to be gone for a little bit, you got to be smart about those things, because if you do it correctly, you can really increase your stock in the promotion that you're working for, because if you leave and then you come back, you can come back and be on a whole nother playing level if you're presented as such. So
yeah, I mean, it's a company that I definitely want to look more into. I say we've not really had a chance to mention or speak about SCW, and it's certainly a company I want to have a look into, and you've just sold it to me even more. So it's something I'm going to be looking into.
Yeah, definitely.
But moving aside from that, I know you have done a bit of WWE work. What was that like? Obviously with WWE, you did a bit with Baron Corbin, Erick Rowan. What was the WWE experience like?
It's that's some of the stuff where by putting in hard work through SCW Pro, you have people like Merrick look at you and realize that if we put this guy in front of the WWE for extra work, he's getting the same opportunity on a grander scale that we give him here at SCW. Yeah. So by being able to show up, look nice, dress up, be there with all your friends, and have the opportunity to just sit around, wait for what might be on the chopping block that day when it comes to WWE, that's kind of the fun stuff. I've done a couple different things with them. I was a part of No Way Jose's conga line a couple times. I was a medic during Kevin Owens and Braun Strowman segment. So I've done a couple things there. The more recent ones that you talked about, I had the opportunity to be a part of a Friday Night SmackDown, and then the TLC 2019 pay-per-view where I was part of King Corbin's security, which also meant I was part of Roman Reigns' punching brigade and kicking and kendo sticks and all the fun that he had with us. So stuff like that is kind of amazing because you just sit around and it does feel like a giant movie set. You don't know what you're going to do, and you're just waiting for someone to tell you or look at you. And that's one of the most like intimidating parts, is when someone like Devon or Jamie Noble comes over and he's just eyeing everybody. You know he has something in his mind that he's trying to figure out, and you're just like staring a hole at him. Like you're trying to like mentally say, pick me, just whatever it is, pick me. I want to be the guy. And that's what happened with the Erick Rowan segment. They had picked one of my fellow Black and Brave graduates, Dante Leone, for the first Erick Rowan match. But because it was a holiday taping, they were doing 2 matches that night. And it was between me and another guy. And Devon was just staring at us with his arms crossed. And I kept thinking, I'm like, just give me one thing. This is my one chance. And when he pointed at me, like inside, my heart just exploded. I couldn't have been more happy to know that I was going to get crushed on TV. But
I was just about to say that. I mean, you sat there thinking, please pick me, but the reality is you're getting picked to be destroyed by Erick Rowan or Kendo sticks by Roman Reigns. You know, it's such a weird concept that you're kind of like praying for your own demise.
Yeah, for real. But and if anything has like taught us over the last couple of years about like, if you want to call them squash matches, enhancement matches, something as crazy as what's his name? The guy with no chin.
James Ellsworth.
James Ellsworth. He had the exact same thing that was going on. And he got in there. He had a look. He said a little tagline. He got smashed. And then before you knew it, someone who had been wrestling for over 10, 15 years was a regular on WWE TV.
He had a WWE title match with AJ Styles on SmackDown. So.
Yeah. Like, it's just insane to think that the people that are in charge, that are there every single week, they're smart enough to know what is going to draw ratings, what is going to draw money, how do we tell a story. And so even though I might be there and my sole purpose is to take a kendo stick to the gut or take a big iron claw chokeslam from Erick Rowan, you have to make chicken salad out of chicken shit when it comes to those situations. And all I cared about when I had that moment with Erick Rowan was when they kind of told me, like, hey, you're going to have these candy canes, you're going to do this weird thing. I thought to myself, I go, this is right up my alley, because the bell isn't going to ring and we're just going to instantly start getting to the action. I get time to slow down, tell a story with my face and my actions before I get completely crushed. Because everyone knows what's coming. They've seen it for weeks and weeks. Don't touch the cage. If you get too close, he's going to crush you. But the fact that the guy that calls himself the 6-star booty got to put candy canes in the back of his trunks and pull them out on live TV and have Jerry the King Lawler talk about that, like, I couldn't have asked for a greater thing. And the fact that it was part of a holiday taping, so I was home watching myself and like giving the Iggy and winking at people, being like, you might want to watch Monday Night Raw. I can't tell you what's going to happen, but I promise it's something that you're going to remember forever. Nobody gets that chance to sit home and watch themselves on TV, have the moment they've been waiting their whole lives for.
You're absolutely right, though. That if you look at people in the past where, like, No Way Jose's conga lines, it's basically modern day NXT. Like, all of those people went on to become something, you know, and CM Punk was even on the back of John Cena's car at WrestleMania 23. So, like, these small roles can sometimes become like the one ticket to something bigger. So, like, the fact that you're taking any opportunity, like you said, you're making chicken salad out of chicken shit, that's respectable, and that's the least you can do, isn't it? You know, that you're making the most of every opportunity, and I'm sure one of these days, like, something's going to stick, because from what we've seen when we're doing our research, you said earlier that you tried to stand out by your mannerisms and stuff, and that comes across. To me, you're a TV personality, so that's something I'd love to see more of in the future. Wherever that is, I'm sure you'll end up on the TV somewhere.
Fingers crossed, right?
On a side note as well, is Erick Rowan as huge as he looks on TV?
He's got to be.
Oh, he's such a monster of a man. He's so big. I can remember waiting in Gorilla right before we were about to have our segment, and Devon, he was the one that was in charge of us that day, and I knew he was gonna hit those ropes and come flying at me with this big cross body block, and he was like, I think I had said, I was like, do I need to I need to be doing this or that? He's like, don't worry. He's like, I'm just going to be coming. And I was like, okay, Erick Rowan, you just crushed me. However you need, man. I'll be there for you. And when I took the first big Iron Claw choke slam from him, I was ready for it. I got real high, and just when I hit the mat, it didn't feel like the mat even moved. If you watch it back, one of my legs just sticks in the air. It's stiff like a board. And when he grabbed me again and gave me the second one, my body wasn't ready for that one. I didn't get quite as high the second time, but it was a hell of an experience, and I'm just glad I got to be in there with someone like him who made it fun.
And what was it like as well? Obviously, you said you was in Gorilla and stuff. I mean, do you get a bit of? I mean, did you get to meet Vince? Did Vince have a word with you at all?
No, one of those. So the situation that I was in, it's fun because since I've been there a couple times and had a couple fun little things to do, it's really neat when you get to walk into the gorilla position for your segment because there's so many people, important people in that small little area, and like when you see Paul Heyman back there watching monitors or Triple H back there watching monitors. Billy Kidman is the guy that's usually timing out the show perfectly. So you watch all these people doing these extremely important jobs, and like all you're really hoping is maybe when you come back through, like you get a nod or like great job, guys. And the night that I got smashed by Rowan, when I walked back through Gorilla, I didn't even like think about anything. I think I maybe like got taken off to the side and I followed the referee back. And one of my friends was like, "What did they say?" And I was like, "I go, what do you mean?" He's like, "Well, did they give you feedback?" And I was like, "I have no idea. Like, I didn't even think about it." And he's like, "No, you got to run to Gorilla, man." He's like, "They'll tell you if you did good." And when I ran in there, it had already progressed to the next segment. And in the next segment was it was Rey Mysterio and Seth. And like you could tell, like when I walked in, Seth like turned and like made eye contact with me, and I felt like a deer in headlights, like I'm not supposed to be in here anymore. I need to leave. And so I just left, and they were like, "What'd they say?" I'm like, "My moment for feedback had already passed, guys. It's fine. No one yelled at me. I'm sure it was great." So it was one of those things where if I ever have another chance in the future to work and I get to walk back through Gorilla, hopefully someone's there to give me some good feedback. But I heard nothing from good things from Merrick when they watched it. And, you know, Colby's always believed in the small things that I've done whenever I've reached out to him. He's always great with giving me advice. So I felt great about what I did out there. And like I said, as long as I don't get yelled at for taking up too much TV time, that's all I care about. So
I've just watched, as I had it up in one of the tabs on Chrome. I was watching it earlier, you taking the Iron Claws from Rowan. Just when you said the second chokeslam was a little bit more awkward to take, I've just seen them both. You can tell you were quite enthusiastic about the first one. you went for it. The second one, you could see it was like, okay, that one hurt a bit.
Yeah, that second one when he grabbed me,
brilliant.
Yeah, my body was just like, "Oh man, are you ready for this again?" And in my head, I'm like, "Yeah, you got to make it great." But then when my body went into the air, I'm like, "Nope, this isn't good."
And you've just got these candy canes sticking out your trunks at the back. Yeah. Brilliant.
Well, I mean, before we start to wrap up as well, I mean, you mentioned earlier Hacksaw Jim Duggan. You worked with Vicky Guerrero. You know we've got to ask about the match with Jerry the King Lawler.
Yeah.
I mean, what was that? That must have been incredible for you to be in the ring with someone of Jerry Lawler's status.
That was that was like the perfect storm between doing the WWE extra work and then getting ready to wrestle Jerry the King Lawler. So that was for Central Empire Wrestling. That's another local promotion that I work for. And I didn't know when that match had been announced that I was going to be doing WWE extra work so close to that time for the match. So when it was originally announced, because the promoter, he was really excited. He's like, "I have a match for you, and I think you're going to like it a lot." And when he sent me the match graphic, I was speechless because I didn't even know what to say. because you think of all these people that you see on independent shows, and the name Jerry the King Lawler is not one of those names that you ever think of or see on these independent wrestling shows. So I was blown away. I didn't even think that was an option. And I could care less how old Jerry the King Lawler is or isn't. Jerry the King Lawler is a worker's worker, and he is the ultimate when it comes to making any experience absolutely amazing, because he's built such a great legacy over time, not only with his mouth, but with his body of work inside the ring. So when it came to that time period, when I had my match on Raw, and I got done with that match, and I realized after watching it back, okay, I just had my debut match on Monday Night Raw called by Jerry the King Lawler. And he was on commentary. And then I thought to myself, and then here a couple weeks later, on my birthday, I'm going to wrestle Jerry the King Lawler. And so the night that we had that match, I was on cloud nine, because it was like a celebration of me, it felt like, because it was my birthday on this huge giant spectacle. Earlier in the day, I had done a seminar with Hardcore Holly and Ken Anderson. They had done the seminar earlier in the day, so I was like surrounded with all these people that absolutely love professional wrestling, and then I was doing the ultimate thing that I could hope for in professional wrestling, and that's wrestling someone, a WWE Hall of Famer. And originally it was just myself and Jerry the King Lawler. That's it. It was going to be a match. It didn't need to be any bigger. But when I saw all the people that we were bringing into the show, one of the other ladies that was in attendance was Terry Runnels, and she got to be a part of our match. So I come out, the King comes out, and then her music hits. And what it was is the winner of this match gets a kiss from Terry Runnels. And so we up the ante even higher. And of course, the King's freaking out. He's been yelling about her puppies for 30 years or whatever it's been. And I look over at her and I go, this one's going to be mine. And so I do a little bit of dancing and stuff like that for her. And the match starts off. The first thing, I do a whole bunch of dancing. And I turn to the King and I go, what do you got? And he hits me with a stone cold stunner to start the match. And the whole place lost their minds because the King just did a stunner to me. So we get to the end of the match, and I had given her a candy cane before the match started. I said, hold on to this. And after I pinned the King and I went over to her and puckered up for my kiss, she went ahead and stuck that candy cane right back in my mouth and slapped the taste out of it. And I turned around and got a pile driver. So that's what happened on my birthday 2 years ago.
That's the coolest birthday I've ever had.
Yeah, I could. He could have cut my head open. I could have been bleeding like a stuck pig, and I would have just never had a better day in my life.
How do you top that, really?
Yeah, it was the ultimate culmination of so many things that came together that day. So every time I talk about Jerry the King Lawler and anything surrounding him, I get so pumped and so excited. Even this year for my birthday, I got a belated birthday gift. I got it right here just by chance. They got me the brand new Jerry the King Lawler Elite action figure.
Amazing.
And I was so excited to get this because it looks so good. It's a little bit earlier King, early 90s, but still just a representation of the guy that I got to wrestle.
I was going to say, how cool is that? You can look at that figure and go, I've wrestled that guy.
Yeah, it's just absolutely amazing. So.
What was Jerry like as well? Also, like after the match, did you get to sit down and speak with him? What was he like to deal with after the match?
He's very cool, very good. I try to make it a point anytime after a match that I have. I'm always seeking some type of immediate feedback, especially if it's someone on a higher caliber like that. Being in there with all the experience they have, even if they tell me something that I've heard a million times, I'm just trying to get something from them that will resonate with me a little bit more so that I can take it into my next match. So he was very, very kind, had a couple things to talk about and things of that nature, which gave me a little bit more to sink my teeth into to take with me into the future. So I was just very appreciative that he was not only cool to wrestle and work with and spitball ideas about our match, but also afterwards to give a little bit of feedback to make sure that he may never come back to Central Empire Wrestling or Iowa again, but if he was going to make this a one last thing, that he gave one of Seth Rollins' kids a little bit of advice to take forward. So
it's amazing. I mean, it's Jerry the King Lawler, man. I mean, you can't top it. It's just, I mean, I've got goosebumps just from you telling me that story, because I love professional wrestling like you do and Callum does, and you know, these guys mean the world to all of us. To hear a story like that, it is amazing. It really is. There was one last thing I wanted to ask you, and it's more of a, because I'm a huge fan of this guy. I know you also worked with Trevor Murdoch. We've had Trevor on the show before, and I'm a huge Trevor fan. What was it like working with Trevor?
So I'm glad that I feel like we're coming to a culmination with Trevor. And Trevor was, I want to say he was one of the first guys that when I went to go talk to him, he instantly made me feel so calm and welcome that I wasn't, any nerves that I had felt like they dropped off immediately.
Yeah.
And being able to speak with him and have a match with him, and just because when I look back at that first, I guess the only match I've ever had with him, I'm very in like a learning transitional phase of like my character and trying to figure out what the next step is for me, and what I was trying to do during that time. And Trevor, after I wrestled him, he came back and he's been a part of Central Empire Wrestling a couple times, and he held a seminar, and I signed up for that seminar instantly. I always try to sign up for seminars to learn from these people. And when I showed up, he pointed out to everybody that was there, he said, you know, JT has wrestled me before, and the fact that he signed up for this seminar shows how much he is still hungry and willing to learn. And he didn't think that he was better than this today. And he knows that you can always continue to learn and get feedback from people, whether it's in the ring or in any scenario. It doesn't have to be in the ring when you're asking for feedback or advice. Yeah. It could be on, how does my new gear look? How does my promo picture look? How does my last interview sound? You can always kind of nitpick people and say, this might not be a match, but I want to get better in these scenarios. How do you feel about that? And I've kept in touch, and every time I get a chance to see Trevor, I'm always trying to stay in contact with him. He's always been someone who, even though I didn't get trained by him, I treat him like he's one of my trainers. I always want to every now and then touch base with him and say, hey man, do you have a chance to watch a match? Like, how are things going? Just because I felt like he's always seen a little bit in me. And I know that I never want to feel like, because I got trained at Black and Brave, that I'm relying on Black and Brave. I should always try to meet people in this industry and say, I'm trying to grow my name just like you did. And is it okay if I make you a point of contact or a reference when I'm reaching out to other promotions? Would you feel comfortable putting my name on your back? So that way, if someone does reach out to him and say, we're looking to book JT Energy, he said that you're a reference, what can you tell us about him? Hopefully Trevor Murdoch has nothing but good things to say about me. And in a couple recent interviews, a lot of people, they like to spitball and say, hey, what's your next match? What are you looking forward to? Things of that nature. And with how much NWA and NWA Power grew over the last couple of years, and it became this thing that flourished. And if anybody knows what's going on, Trevor Murdoch, he is your North American champion currently. Yeah. He is the man. He is the man that is holding that title. And I have told multiple people on podcasts, that is my next big match that I want. I want a rematch with Trevor Murdoch, and I want his NWA championship on the line. If he wants to come back to Central Empire Wrestling, I am the current Central Empire Wrestling Heavyweight Champion, and I would love to have my championship and his championship held up in the same ring on the same night for whenever crowds come back, or if we need to do something else. Like, that's something that's on the horizon. So I really hope he holds on to that, because he is one of the people that I want to get back into the ring with and have a round two to show him how much I've grown as an in-ring competitor and a superstar.
Holy shit, what a story. I'm sold on that completely. Just because of how real it is from what you've just said. I want to see that match now.
Yeah. And I totally get what you mean as well, obviously, with Trevor. Like Callum will tell you, when we got Trevor on the show a couple of months ago, I'm like the biggest Trevor Murdoch mark, and I was a bag of nerves. And the minute we started talking to Trevor, I just felt so comfortable and so at ease. And we just chatted forever. And I totally get what you mean. He was just such a lovely guy. He really was. And I think he's such an underrated guy as well.
Yeah.
But before we go, JT, it's been an absolute pleasure, man. We always like to bring people back, so I mean, please, we'll reach out, come back on in a few months if that's okay with you.
Hey, whenever you want me, just let me know. My favorite. So I don't get to wrestle 24/7, and the pandemic doesn't allow me to wrestle 24/7. I get to look forward to these small things a couple times a month.
Yeah.
So anytime that you want to talk wrestling, do watch-alongs, talk wrestling figures, talk anything. If you haven't got it, we've been talking for 48 minutes.
Yep.
And when it comes to talking and professional wrestling and just interacting with people that love the same things that I do, I usually can't shut my mouth.
Dude, you're an absolute pleasure to speak with.
I
it's
appreciate
great.
you guys giving me so much of your time today. Just to, I mean, listening to a kid from America just blab about himself and professional wrestling and the things that he hopes to do someday. So I just appreciate you guys for allowing me to talk about.
You've got a ton of cool stories. You've told us all these stories. It's a delight for us to listen to them. So thank you for coming on.
Hey, no problem.
Before we do go as well, JT, obviously, tell people where they can find you, social media.
Heck yeah, let's do some plugs. You can support me. I am a person who I don't make the most money in the world, but I'm trying to like up myself a little bit here and there. If you need a JT Energy t-shirt, Pro Wrestling Tees is the place to go. I finally got myself a Pro Wrestling Tees store this year. JT Energy on Pro Wrestling Tees. There's 4 different designs up there currently that you can get your hands on. I'm always posting different little things when it comes to merchandise on social media. I don't have a ton of things when it comes to like big items, but I love to make stickers and pins and buttons and 8x10s and all kinds of different things. And just because you might live somewhere international does not mean that I will not DM with you and figure out a way to get my stuff into your hands. If you want to find me on any form of social media, whether it be Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, all you have to do is search DJ, just like a DJ in a club, the word click, CLICK, the letter N, and then play, PLAY, DJ Click and Play. That is my previous DJ name, and I have brought it and just kept it during my pro wrestling career. So if you search it anywhere, it's DJ Click and Play. The thing that I've been trying to grow the most during this pandemic is my YouTube. I've been trying to put up as much of the content that I have accumulated over the last couple of years and put it up on my YouTube, whether it's dancing or old wrestling matches or different things. I'm just trying to keep people entertained when there's not a lot of stuff to go and watch during the weekends. If you want to check out SCW Pro, that is my home promotion. I am the current Quad City Cup champion and have been for the past year. You can go to www.patreon.com/SCW Pro. They are doing $10 a month to get SCW Pro content. Not only can you see myself, but the gentleman that just got signed by NXT UK, Benjamin Carter, his final stuff with a promotion that was independent is SCW Pro. So if you like Ben Carter and you want to see where he started and where he came from, a couple months before he went and got signed, he was working for SCW Pro, and he left SCW Pro, the Iowa champion, and had to relinquish that title to go and work for the WWE. So you can check me out, DJ Click and Play. Please go to YouTube, subscribe. If you want to put some money in my pocket, go to Pro Wrestling Tees, search JT Energy. But support me in any way, shape, or form. I will support you if you want to be my friend or talk to me or any of that stuff. I look like a huge D-bag and act like a huge D-bag all the time, I promise you. But there's a little ounce of me that is kind of a nice guy. So I do respond to people quite often. So if you need some stuff from me, merchandise, whatever it might be, hit me up. JT Energy, DJ Click and Play, Travis Horn. It's me, baby.
That was the best plug-in section we've ever had. Like, usually it's just, oh yeah, find me on Twitter, but you had it nailed.
All right. Well, anybody who's a pro wrestler, if you're plugging your stuff at the end of anything, you make it professional as possible and you remember everything up here. If you can't remember it, you put it on your phone in front of you and you memorize that stuff because people need to know how to support you. That's how you grow. So take it professionally, take it seriously, and know where your merchandise is and where your home promotions merchandise is, because it's important that you succeed and the company you work for succeeds.
Absolutely brilliant. Well done.
But for now, it's been an absolute pleasure, man. Absolute pleasure. 6-star booty JT Energy. We are Ringsiders. Thank you very much.
Thank you guys for having me. I appreciate it.